DNVR Broncos Live, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the source for all things sportsbook. And we are coming to you from Studio A at the DNVR bar, where today the A stands for absolute best. As in, there's a lot of Sean Payton news out there, and we are going to have the absolute best person we could possibly have on to talk about Sean Payton news. Just like DraftKings is the source for all things sportsbook, he is the source for all things Saints, especially when it comes to Mickey Loomis and Sean Payton. So we're going to have Jeff Duncan on just a few minutes. We're super excited for that. But why don't we start with the question that is in the headline, which has already caused quite a stink in the comment section, and why the headline is what it is, Zach.
Yeah, so on Monday, we heard Sean Payton come out on Colin Cowherd and say that the Broncos, or that any team going after Sean Payton would have to trade what he believed to be a mid to late first-round pick for him. Well, yesterday, Jeff Duncan, our guest that's coming up, said Mickey Loomis is searching for more of 2 first-round picks, something similar to what the Raiders got for John Gruden 20 years ago.
So that's why 2 first-round picks is in the headline. Unlike the commenter who said we are trying to give away more for Sean Payton.
Nope.
This is coming from the source who we have on now.
And let's bring him in, Jeff Duncan, the columnist for the Times-Picayune and NOLA.com. He's the author of Payton and Breeze, the men who built the greatest offense in history. He's been around the Saints since 1999. I don't think there's anyone more connected with what's going on with Sean Payton in this situation than Jeff. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us. And I got to start off
big time
big time, Jeff. Got to start off with a question for you, not related to this. We typically go down to New Orleans every year on our way to Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl. We've hit some great restaurants, but we want to know from the local, the insider here, what the best one is that we need to hit up next time.
Well, it's a great question. I get asked that a lot, as you can imagine, living here. I would highly recommend getting out of the quarter and getting uptown. That's where a lot of the best restaurants in the city are. There's one I'm actually going to tonight called Clancy's that is where a lot of NFL coaches, players, NBA coaches, players go. It's a great New Orleans experience. It's right in the middle of a neighborhood up near Tulane University. You'd never know there's a 5-star restaurant in the middle of this residential neighborhood. It's a great place to go if you're on your way to the Senior Bowl.
Oh, man, that is perfect. That sounds right up our alley. No, Clancy's. We'll be hitting it up next time we're down there. And let's dive in. Jeff, you had a great article breaking a lot of news yesterday in NOLA.com. And one of the things, let's just start where the Broncos and Sean Payton stand, because one of the things you said after their interview in your article, you said that the interview with the Broncos and Texans went well, but Sean Payton was particularly impressed with the Broncos group, who he met with for several hours. So can you just let us know where Payton is in this search, talking to other teams, but specifically where he stands with the Broncos and how he views them?
Yeah, look, I think he's gone into this entire courtship, if you will, very open-minded. I don't think he had any preconceived notions. And I know that he was impressed. I talked to a lot of people close to Sean after he visited with Broncos management and ownership, and he was really impressed with the thoroughness of their presentation. I think how very much competitive they want to be going forward. I think they feel like they kind of underperformed the last few years, and I think they're serious about trying to get somebody to right this ship. I mean, it's a proud franchise that's used to winning at a high level and has not been able to find it for whatever reason the last few years. And they know, I'm sure, in Denver, that ownership and management group knows if they bring in Sean Payton, it's going to cost a lot. I mean, draft capital and salary. But if you bring him in, he's a proven winner. There's not going to be any doubt about whether you're going to win or not. I can tell you, I covered Sean the entire time he was here. He's the best coach by far I've ever covered. He's going to win wherever he goes. If he goes to Houston, they're going to win. If he goes to Carolina, they're going to win. So that eliminates, I think, the doubt, right? I mean, DeMeco Ryans or someone like that, no question, great credentials. You don't have to pay anything to get them. But if you bring in Sean Payton, you're going to get a proven winner.
So what makes this unique is, of course, the potential draft capital that'll have to be exchanged. Sean kind of nonchalantly the other day just said, like, yeah, it'll be like a mid to late first round pick as compensation. Obviously, in your story yesterday, it sounded like that's a little bit low. Where do you think this actually falls, and where do you think the compensation ends up landing?
Well, look, we've all been in some kind of bartering negotiation, right? I mean, it's going to start probably with 2 first-rounders from the Saints, and it eventually will come back to something less of that. I don't think the Saints are going to get 2 first-rounders. I really don't. Unless it's Carolina, a division opponent, they may have to pay an extra price to get him. I think you could get Sean Payton. The Broncos, I think, could get him if they traded their first-rounder this year, that low first-rounder they got from, what was it, San Francisco?
Yep.
San Francisco, and maybe a mid-round pick. I think that'll do it, and I think it would be well worth it. We all get short-sighted in this world and start looking at the draft. Everybody gets excited. You don't have a first-round pick. It's kind of a bummer, but in the long run, you get a guy like Peyton who's gonna overhaul the. If he came in there, he'd overhaul the entire culture, the coaching staff, everyone in the building. I mean, everyone in the building would feel his impact. He's, in my opinion, he's well worth whatever they have to pay to get him.
You mentioned toward the bottom of the column that he was leaning toward just going back to Fox for another year before all this started. Jim Harbaugh has also already pulled himself out of this race, so Broncos fans feel just a little bit spurned by him backing out, potentially just playing the game and trying to get more money from Michigan. As of now, do you think anything's changed there? Do you think it's likely that he's going to take a job this time around?
Well, I think he wants to get back into coaching. I know he does, but it's got to be the right fit. And I think the impression that Broncos ownership and management made on him was important. I've talked to him a lot over the years. I mean, I wrote a book with him, and I can tell you, I mean, when he comes out and says ownership and management is critical, I mean, he's not bluffing. That's really the truth. He's a confident guy as far as offensive football is concerned. Everyone kept trying to pair him up with quarterbacks and looked at the roster. He's going to figure out how to make Russell Wilson a productive, efficient quarterback. If Russell Wilson wasn't there, he would go get a quarterback. He's confident in his ability to coach up quarterbacks in offensive football. So it's important, but it's not nearly as important as the people you're trying to win with and the resources they have to allow you to be successful. And we all know that Rob Walton and that front office, they may have the deepest pockets in the entire NFL. So that's going to be appealing to someone like Sean Payton, who I can tell you from over the years, I mean, he can drive owners and management crazy because he always wants to win. He doesn't ever want to go through a transition year. He wants to win now, right away. And someone like Walton that might be able to open up the purse strings more than other owners certainly is going to be attractive to him.
Well, and Jeff, you mentioned Russell Wilson there. Russ has reached out to Sean Payton, according to Colin Cowherd, we found out this morning. And you got to see firsthand how Sean Payton was able to take Drew Brees, who was a good quarterback before he got to New Orleans, and make him a first-ballot Hall of Famer. Why do you believe he'd be able to turn turn Russell Wilson around after having a down year this past year?
Well, I think he'd do similarly what he did for Drew. I think he could do that for Russell Wilson. I think he'd have a much more quarterback-friendly offense. He'd be able to eliminate a lot of the things that Russell Wilson doesn't feel comfortable with. I know that he's got to be attracted to some of the weapons that they have there in Denver. Sean would bring in a really good coaching staff also offensively. I think that could help Russell Wilson as well. I mean, Sean's got a very shrewd eye for coaching talent. He can find guys in the college ranks. He attracts really good coaches. They want to coach under him. Guys like Dan Campbell go on to be head coaches. Aaron Glenn's interviewing for head coaching jobs. So they want to go coach under a guy like him. He's a Bill Parcells disciple. So, I think there's a lot of reasons why Russell Wilson would want someone with his pedigree and his offensive acumen. I mean, he's always kind of idolized Drew Brees. I mean, that's been true over the years. They've been good friends and colleagues. So I'm sure he's talked to Drew about the potential of Sean coming there. And, the one thing I would say about Denver that I think, would be something of if I had to say there was any kind of hesitancy, it's just because it's such a tough division. You're going to be button heads every year with the Chiefs, the Chargers. Eventually, going to get things worked out. I mean, I know Peyton thinks Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes are the two best quarterbacks in the NFL, and you're going to have to go to battle with those guys twice a year. Whereas if he goes somewhere like Houston, it's pretty much wide open to rebuild. But like I said earlier, Peyton's a very confident guy. I don't think he's going to shy away from a challenge.
You mentioned in the piece that Mickey Loomis is a guy who enjoys a negotiation, who enjoys, a good deal. And you also mentioned kind of that there's an opportunity, if he didn't feel like the compensation was right, that, he could shut something like this down. Do you really think that if the Broncos said, hey, we will give you the first and that's it, that he would say, I would rather walk away from this and get no pick this year than trade Sean Payton for less than what I believe he's worth?
Well, that's what he's saying right now. We'll see if he holds to it, right? I think someone could call his bluff. What I'm curious to know, and I don't know this answer, is who calls the shots from the other side? If Mickey Loomis does say that, for instance, is that Rob Walton? Is it the general manager? Is Sean Payton? I mean, who's actually negotiating with the Saints there? I assume it has to be the Broncos with Sean Payton involved, and I just think we've never really seen anything quite like this. It's very unprecedented. A coach of Peyton's pedigree who's been out a year. We've seen it in the past with guys like Parcells, but they usually got right back into it right away. Didn't have this kind of specter hanging over him with this long-term contract. I mean, Peyton's got 2 more years with the Saints. So even if he sits out this next year, he's still under contract, and he'd be under contract all the way through the 24 season. It's a very unusual situation.
It's an interesting one where, do the Broncos then turn to Sean Payton? They're like, should we trade a third too?
Right. Almost using him as counsel.
I don't know how the mechanizations of that work. I'm kind of intrigued by it. But I think if these guys like Rob Walton, David Tepper, I mean, they're used to winning. They're used to high stakes negotiations. They've been in big time negotiations over the years. So if they want something, they're used to getting it. And I would imagine if they want Sean Payton, they're going to go get him.
Yeah, I agree too. I'm curious if you have any ideas about who might be a part of Sean Payton's staff, because it's obviously it's Sean Payton. He has connections across the league. There's a bunch of coaches who would want to work under him, and on top of that, you have an ownership group that's probably willing to pay top dollar for coordinators and position coaches. Are there any names you've heard, or do you have any guesses about who he might bring with him?
No, look, I think some of the coaches on the Saints staff, I mean, Dan Rusher was just let go here, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. Sean brought him in here. He's a very good coach. He's coached the offensive line. He's coached the running backs. I can see him having a spot on Sean's staff wherever he goes. I think Pete Carmichael, who's really under fire here as the offensive coordinator, I think somewhat unfairly, very good offensive mind, and basically like a lieutenant to Sean on that offense, a guy that could come along and kind of teach the Payton offensive system to the Broncos staff or wherever he goes. I think if he is let go here, then I think he will be a top candidate. And I think personnel-wise, it wouldn't shock me to see Ryan Pace, the former Bears general manager who's now with Atlanta, go with Sean in some capacity in a personnel role. And even Jeff Ireland, who's the assistant GM here, who is the head of college personnel. And Jeff Ireland is outstanding. If he goes with Sean Payton, that would be a huge loss for the New Orleans Saints.
Jeff, we really appreciate all of this insight. My final one for you is, you mentioned yesterday, you broke the news that Sean's searching for $20 to $25 million a year, about 4-year deal. And a lot of people kind of freak out about that. And we've told people, don't worry, it's not salary cap. It's not your money.
It's not your money.
There's nothing to worry about with that.
Right.
But you also, I think today, brought up another really good point on top of that on Twitter. Can you just explain why the 20 to 25 isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I think that's one of the big myths in all of the NFL. And, look, these are deals that really no one gets to report. It's usually just the general manager, the owner, and the head coach that know, and his agent, that know the actual salary. And there's money hidden in these contracts and marketing deals, kind of side deals. So they're very much underreported. I mean, I know for a long time, people reporting that Bill Belichick's making $12.5 million with New England. He's making over $20 million a year, and he has been for a while. And Sean's deal with the Saints was always, I think, 10, 12 million. And he told me himself he was making over 16 million. That was years ago. So he making more than that. I think that goes on across the league. Remember when Matt Rule signed with Tepper in Carolina, and everybody went crazy at the price? Yeah. Well, I've talked to a number of NFL people that told me that he was not even in the top 10, and everyone thought he was when they looked at the reported earnings. Right. But those are really inaccurate, I think.
Man, I hope we all find some extra money in our contracts. Maybe just a couple million. That wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, tell me about it. Wouldn't it be nice if we all get a $4 million marketing deal that no one knows about?
Exactly. Well, thanks so much for joining us, man. This has been great. We appreciate you. And first drinks on us at Clancy's when we come through.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let me know. And look, good luck. If you get Payton out there, let me plug my book. Everyone out there, buy that Payton Breeze book because you'll learn a lot about how that offense is going to run and how Sean Payton operates. It's really, I think, a window into how modern offensive football works. You'll learn a lot, I think. And I'm not saying it just because I wrote it. I mean, I got a lot of great access that kind of helps illustrate modern offensive football.
Well, and we'll drop the link to your article yesterday. We'll also drop your book in the description for everyone who's tuning in can find that easily.
I was going to say we'll have to do a book club.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Seriously.
Yeah, anytime you guys get down here, just let me know.
Right on. Thank you so much, Jeff.
All right, guys. Take care.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, guys, I was going to say it before this interview, and I feel even that much stronger about it now. Sean Payton's the next coach of the Denver Broncos.
Ooh,
wow. Yep. I'm there.
Let's go.
I got there last night. Then even more news this morning. Then after talking to Jeff, who he is so plugged in. I mean, you weren't exaggerating earlier, Ryan, when you said he is the most plugged in with Sean Payton and this stuff. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when do the Broncos bring in a second round of interviews in terms of bringing multiple people in next week, or do they bring Sean Payton in and say, let's show you the facility, let's take you out to dinner, then let's give you $100 million.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think it's only a matter of time and a matter of negotiating with the Saints at this point. And very important note from that discussion with our guy Jeff. I thought he was going to say, yes, I think Mickey Loomis would walk away from a first-round pick. And he did not say that. And that, I think, was not that we're talking to Mickey himself, but I actually expected him to say, yes, I think he would be willing to walk away from a first-round pick because he thinks he's worth a lot more than that. And the fact that he didn't say that means I think the Broncos can say that. You got this first-round pick. The Saints don't have a first-round pick this year, by the way.
Yep.
So you can have a first-round pick this year, or you cannot have a first-round pick this year, and you can give us the coach who won't impact you at all this season, or you cannot. I think the price is a first-round pick. I think they're going to get there. Maybe there's some sprinkles on top. Yeah. But I think this is going to happen, and I think that'll be about the price.
I agree, but just to play devil's advocate, if the Broncos were to say that, then the Saints would say, okay, well, you can either have Sean Payton as your head coach, or you can not have Sean Payton as your head coach. So pick a side there.
And that's maybe where they come in the middle and they say, okay, you get your first-round pick, which is a 49ers pick this year, so not the best, and then the sprinkle will be a second-round pick. So it's going, potentially a big sprinkle.
That's a big sprinkle.
But it's not.
That's a cherry.
Okay, well,
almost a second scoop ice cream.
Let's talk about if it's worth it then. But first, I think Broncos country's feeling really good about the direction of the team right now, and they could feel even better if they used Athletic Greens this morning to scoop in a little bit of water to start your day is just going to make your body feeling good when your mind is feeling good. In fact, it's even going to help your mind because what Athletic Greens gives you is 75 vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens to help get your day started right. All it is one scoop in the morning to really kick you off and help you get going. And it's less than a cup of coffee a day. They have over 7,000 five-star reviews over on their website. So if you want to get in on Athletic Greens and start your day the best way possible, head to athleticgreens.com/Broncos to get 1 free year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Check them out, athleticgreens.com/Broncos to get that deal.
And when the Broncos do get Sean Payton and the streets are flooded with Broncos fans, everybody's going crazy.
Yes.
There's fireworks in the street.
Yes.
And oh no, somebody hit you in the face with a firework.
Oh my God.
Oh, who are you going to call?
Backus and Shanker.
You're going to call Backus and Shanker. They are the best attorneys in Colorado, and they specialize in situations just like that one. They've actually, they're the experts in that sort of case. What they do is they will bring you in. They'll ask how you got hurt, who hurt you, and if it wasn't your fault, they'll take your case on. And again, there's no fees until they win your case. No fee. So if they don't win, there's no fee there. You just want to go talk to them, hear what they have to say. No fee for that either. They've won over $1 billion for their clients over the past 25 plus years in Colorado. They have locations that serve all of Colorado. They've got neighborhood offices in Denver, Aurora, Inglewood, Fort Collins, and they have more than 30 lawyers on their staff. They have the strength, they have the power to win your case. Again, they help all kinds of injury cases where you weren't at fault, whether it's car accidents, motorcycle accidents, rideshare accidents, pedestrians, trucks, fireworks. We can even help if you're injured at work. So call 222-2222. Again, that's 222-2222 to find out if you have a case for free. Backus and Shanker wins.
Man, just hit a couple twos to get yourself fixed.
222-2222.
Well, would you trade a 2, speaking of 2s, and a 1? I mean, I was surprised that you guys were so taken aback by that. That I think Mickey's going to be... So it was interesting, and I really liked your point about how he wasn't as stern in saying Mickey's going to be that firm. But in his article yesterday... he really did make the case that this may be a really hard negotiation process. And I think today we got to see how he would lean if he had to guess if it gets that direction. But what if it does come down to that? 1 and 2.
So what did the Broncos trade to the Seahawks? 2 1s, 2 2s.
3 players.
And 3 players. And in the article, which... knowing what I know about sports media and the way things happen, he wrote essentially what Mickey Loomis's take is on this, which is if the coach is going to get paid half as much as the quarterback, then they're worth half as much as the quarterback, right?
Yep.
So if the Broncos traded 2 1s, 2 2s, and 3 starters, then your half could be 1 1 and 1 2, and then, maybe 1 starter. I don't know. Maybe it's less than that. But it is interesting to hear that that's kind of the thought on it. And to be fair, it's like a very black and white, obvious, that does add up, right?
Yeah,
half as much money, half
really
as much
does.
value.
Yeah.
With that being said, I don't think the Broncos are going to give that much up.
Wow. So that's when the Broncos take a step back. They say that's too much. So when you talk about a sprinkle, are you talking like a day 3 pick?
Yeah. I'm thinking like they start at, we want 2 1s. And the Broncos are like, we can't do that.
They put on Colin Cowherd and Sean saying it's 1. They're like, no, we'll give you this.
Right. It's like, okay, look, we have a lot of team needs here. We'd love to fill this coaching position. We can't do a 1. I think then it goes to a 2. Still no. I think when the conversation gets going to, potentially happening is a 3. The Broncos can say, okay, we have 2 3s this year. Are we really going to say no to our coach based off of a 3rd round pick that we have ready to go this year? We'll still have a pick in the 3rd. I think that's where the Broncos would actually bend, but I don't know if that's actually where it ends up. I think it's there or lower for this deal to actually get done.
Okay.
The twist, though, is that you're not trading for an active coach. You compare it to the Deshaun Watson trade, but Sean Payton wasn't playing this year. He's not going back to the Saints if they don't trade him. And so if you're going to compare it to a quarterback trade, Brett Favre, who was retired from the Packers and then got traded. And what did the Packers get for Brett Favre? It was a 4th round pick, but if he played in 50% of the snaps, it turned to a 3rd. If it was 70%, it changed to a 2nd. And if he made the playoffs, it changed to a 1st.
How old was Brett
He
Favre?
made the playoffs.
Yes. Oh, wait. No, that's 70. It was 2nd if it's 70% and they go to the playoffs. 80% if he plays 80% and they go to the Super Bowl.
Then it's a 1st.
Then it goes to a 1st.
How old?
And they
Yes.
went to the NFC Championship, right?
No, because it went to the Jets. Because there was the poison pill in there where if they then traded him to the Vikings, they owed the Packers 3 first-round picks. Because they said he can't do that. And then after his contract expires, I believe that's when he signed with the Vikings.
I think the Broncos,
Wow.
the Broncos
Drama.
might
What a
throw,
deal.
The Broncos
What a
might
deal.
throw that out there, and the Saints would say huge difference because Sean Payton can coach the next 20 years. How old was Brett Favre then?
He had played 16 seasons.
Yeah, so I
Probably
mean,
38.
you're just getting 1, 2, 3 years at most, especially at that time. So I think the Saints would laugh that one off. And
Yeah.
say,
God,
no.
I would love to
But-
I want to be in this
Especially
in this room.
I mean, Mickey Loomis, who's this, he likes a deal. He likes to be on the right side of deals. So he's a hard-nosed negotiator. Plus, with the CEO and chairman of Walmart, I mean, you're talking about guys that like good deals. There's a reason why they're so wealthy is they always get on the right side of deals. That'd be an incredible negotiation. And then
There's never
Sean
been a
Payton
more-
just in the middle.
There's never been a more like rich old white guy thing than like this guy loves a good deal.
It's so true.
Loves a good negotiation. Loves to
out-
get to the table.
Check out Elway Chevrolet.
It is, but the other crazy part is that it probably is Sean Payton negotiating this. Like he is going to be the man who would definitely be negotiating this trade after.
Is he
he's
gonna
the head
say I
coach.
wouldn't trade 2 1s for me?
That's the thing, though. So it's like then the owners go back to him and say like, well, they say we need 2 firsts. Are you worth it?
Well, and then
Yes, I'm worth
what's
it.
so funny there is Sean, he sees $25 million contract. He's like, I need this deal to go through. And then the Saints are like, well, then you're not going to have a first-round pick this year or next year on the team that you're going to be coaching. He's like, whoa, maybe not. But then he's like, well, I want $25 million, so do it. I mean, it's
But
such an interesting place to be.
No one knows Mickey Loomis better than him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's probably sitting there saying like, no, trust me. Offer the third and
Right,
we'll
right,
get the
right.
deal.
Right,
It's
right.
such a weird
Yeah.
3-party
Yeah.
negotiation. It'll be really interesting to see where it lands.
I wonder if that ever came up, like when everything was going well, like 5 years ago when Sean Payton was with the Saints. They're like out on the golf course having a couple beers, and Sean was just like, I wonder what my trade value would be. And I wonder if like there's a small chance that they had that conversation.
Wow.
Small chance. Trading for Jameis Winston. It's like at the time, it's like, yeah, or no, they signed him. It doesn't matter.
Man,
Point is, it could have come up.
That conversation would probably be really bad for Sean Payton now, because Mickey'd be like, I could probably get a second and a first for you. And Sean's like, whoa, you could get 3 firsts for me.
Yeah,
And now
exactly.
Mickey's like, well, I'm asking for 3 firsts. You said it on the golf course.
I think it would be a weird thing to say to someone like, would you guys trade me for a first round?
It's so true, and there's more than just what Jeff was the first one on this yesterday, but then a couple hours later, Mike Kliss came out with an article with just so much information in it, including potentially bringing in guys for second interviews next week. He said anywhere from 1 to 3. He said Sean Payton, Dan Quinn are now the 1 and 2s with Jim Harbaugh out. He also threw David Shaw in there as kind of a dark horse. So if it's
Vic
going
Lombardi
to be,
also dropped a little David Shaw breadcrumb today.
and that's kind of, David Shaw's picking up some steam. Not a surprise. We talked about how he could be a legitimate player. And on top of that, so that's kind of your 1 to 3 guys. But Mike also reiterated just how much the Broncos liked Sean Payton and how it could be going that way. The interview went well, that he said there's mutual interest in both teams. And another thing about this, could Payton be bad news for Payton? Could Sean Payton
Yes.
be bad news for George Paton?
All George Paton gets is bad news these days.
And holy cow, was he maybe given the worst blow
Yes.
yesterday?
Yes.
We found out from Mike that George Paton has been in these interviews. He's been on, and every single one of the first interviews, it's been Condoleezza Rice, George Paton, and Greg Penner in these interviews. When and if they bring guys in for a second round of interviews next week, even if it's just one to finalize, it's going to be Greg Penner, his wife, Carrie Walton Penner, and Rob Walton.
Yep. Have you?
Really quick, not only is George Paton not going to be in it, but as Mike Kliss reported yesterday, George Paton's going to be there after to answer follow-up questions and to give tours of the facility.
Do you ever remember being a kid and you hear your parents talking in like the kitchen or something? They're talking. It's kind of like a low whisper.
Yeah.
So then you walk in there and then they both look at you and they go, "Hey, why don't you go play Xbox?" That's what the Broncos just did to to George Paton.
Man.
They literally told him, "Hey, why don't you go play in your room?" Or Are your friends home?
There's some corners to scout, right?
Yeah, they really did that to him. And it's so odd. Like, George Paton's not dumb. He knows what's happening too. They're going to ask Sean Payton, do you want him or not? We don't care.
Jeff told us multiple candidates that Sean would be willing to bring in as general manager.
And to be honest, Sean Payton is going to say, no, I don't want him.
Right.
And that's why I said, like, George Paton only gets bad news these days. He's just waiting to be fired. The only way that he survives is if the Broncos don't get their top choice for coach.
It's really true. It's really true.
I'm 90% sure that Mike Kliss changed what he wrote in the story.
Oh.
Really?
Yes, I am 90% sure.
Oh.
Because I want to find it to be totally sure, but I could swear he specifically said, despite media speculation, George Paton will be back with the Broncos next season.
I believe that part is now removed.
It is now removed.
So
but
the bad news gets worse.
But again, I was just like waiting. It's like, oh, Ryan's doing his thing. Like that's the media speculation that Peyton's gonna get fired. And then I go to look and it's like, oh, he took that out. And now it says
it still says what I said, right?
About
how he won't be in
the interviews.
I haven't double checked that part. But I'm pretty sure it says, although his seat has warmed, and I'm trying to find this line
that was
again.
the new wording.
Yep. Although his seat has warmed, he is expected to be back as the Broncos general manager, regardless of who Penner ultimately decides to hire as head coach. But again, that is
Absolutely not.
the fact that they changed it, all of a sudden, I do start to agree with you.
Yeah. Sean Payton's going to say, yeah, Jeff Ireland, he's the assistant GM, promote him to GM. Yep. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go.
Yeah, and maybe in a way that Mike could be right about this is, will they fire George Paton an hour after hiring Sean Payton? No, probably not. Could it be the next week? Yeah, but what will probably happen is they'll wait until after the draft, and George Paton will give Sean Payton all of his draft information. Sean Payton will probably be the one that makes the picks, and then you move on from George Payton. Then he brings in his guy. So
we can't do three Paytons. We just can't.
Why not?
Yeah.
You cannot do anytime you say Payton, no one knows what you're talking about.
Wow.
Okay, and before Sean Payton got in the mix, I was dead set that if you said Payton in this town, people are thinking Peyton Manning. Didn't we have this conversation? You thought it was George Payton?
I didn't think that. I just one time responded to you thinking you were talking about George Payton.
And I took it and blew it up.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if it's Sean Payton, though, after a year...
The head coach?
Then I think it may be Sean.
So we can't do it, so it's all going to work itself out.
Wow.
It reminds me of the Houston Rockets, because they have two players who are named... what is it? I can't find
Something Green.
I think it's Jalen Green.
Yeah.
I think they have two players named Jalen Green, and they're both good players.
Wow.
Yeah, and
which you just can't do it.
There's two Connor McGoverns in the NFL.
that is also weird.
And the Broncos were potentially,
and they both play guard.
Yes, they do.
I think they might have cut one of the Jalen Greens.
Oh no,
that had to be recent.
Tough.
That's not the point of this podcast, though.
There can only be so many greens. Yeah. Anyways. It's bad. It's tough out there for George Paton right now. And like I said, I know he's a smart guy, so he knows what's up. And there's nothing he can really do.
No, there's really not. And that's just what I'm glad that they're taking him out of some of the interviews in order to get just a true, honest assessment, because we talked about just how awkward this is. A year ago, 2 years ago, we talked about how awkward it was that Vic Fangio was going to hire the guy that was eventually going to fire him. And turns out it was just a year later that he was fired. So I do think it's good to have a football guy in these meetings for some of them, but especially when you're hiring the guy that's eventually going to be above him, it's good to have some separation there. So I do think, as awkward as it is and as unfortunate it is for George, this is the right way to play it for the Broncos.
And while I think George Paton is actually pretty good at least part of his job, there's no way that this ownership group has love for him.
No. Just like they didn't for Nathaniel Hackett, because they were here when they got here.
Yeah.
And shout out to Mile High Report. They wrote a story about the Mike Kliss story. apparently in the first hour or so after it was published, and they did include the line, contrary to some media speculation, George Paton is returning as the Broncos general manager, regardless of who Penner ultimately decides to hire as head coach. And then again, the updated version says, although George Paton's seat has warmed following the Broncos' disappointing 5-12 season, he's expected to return as the Broncos general manager, regardless of who Penner ultimately decides to hire as head coach. So
the change in wording is basically just will to expected to.
yeah,
Right,
it goes
right.
from 100% to better than 50%.
Not good for George
No.
Paton. But if you want something good this weekend, check out our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook,
go.
where
You
you
had so many options.
can bet on. I did have some because we have so many good partners.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you want to be happy, just really check out any of our partners. And DraftKings Sportsbook will make you happy regardless of what happens in these games. You bet $5 on any NFL game this weekend, you get $200
up
in
the
free
ante.
bets. They did $50 extra in free bets by signing up for DraftKings Sportsbook and using the code DNVR this weekend. Place a $5 bet on any NFL game. $200 free in your account. I can't wait to talk playoff ball tomorrow, guys. We're going to dive into that, give our picks, and then you can use that free money, roll with us, or you say, Zach was stupid for thinking the Bucs were going to win. I'm going to pick against him this coming
Yes.
week, and maybe you make your money that way. So head to the App Store now, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now, and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get this. And DNVR, if you want to bet on Sean Payton, you feel it's going that way, you can place a bet on that as well. So use that promo code DNVR. Make sure to see our show notes for details. Eligibility restrictions apply, and if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
Also, if DraftKings, I think sometimes they listen to our reads. If you're listening, David Shaw deserves better than 10-1 odds to be the Broncos head coach.
Don't talk to them. Talk to the listeners and
true.
say, hey,
It's
take
true.
the 10 to 1.
Yes. Because I bet 15-1. It's up to 10-1. I feel like I deserve 4-1 in a cash out opportunity. So just, you know, throwing that out there.
Okay, so I have Nikola Jokic to win MVP at plus 900. He is now minus 110.
That is insane.
And they're not even offering me a cash out on that. So I think you're a long ways away from a cash out.
You know why
By the way, I would not take the cash out.
No, because I mean, just how quickly he's dropped is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, 1 month going from like plus 1,500 and slash plus 2,000 to now he's minus 110. You got to be kidding me.
Also, like some people are talking about some crazy odds. Like I look at this every day. It's like a fun thing for me. Some people are like, yeah, I got this at plus 2,400. I'm like, I don't think that was ever. Did you use like 100% profit boost on it or something?
They placed that bet 4 years ago.
Yeah, possibly. I
It's
but-
incredible. Like the basketball reference tracker now says 70% chance Jokic is MVP. Second best, Luka Doncic. 7.5%.
Yeah.
That is insane that one person is 70% for the MVP in the entire league and the field is 30.
And there's months to go.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
he's just
Also,
incredible.
Little DraftKings hack. Last night they were giving out 30% live profit boost for NBA. When you're at a game, you hold such an
Yes.
advantage on live betting.
Yes.
Because you'll
You
notice
are
with,
right.
if you're watching a game on TV, you'll see the odds change. You're like, what's going on here? And then 2 seconds later, something happens on the TV.
Especially if you're streaming it, you're
Yeah.
even like 2 plays behind.
Yep.
Bro, I sat there and I just had my bet ready.
Yep.
And I literally waited for a shot to go through, and right as it went through, I bet, and like I got slightly better odds because the Nuggets.
Yep.
I essentially bet them down 7, but they were really only down 5 when I pressed the button.
What did you
man.
what was your odds?
With the boost, I got plus 123.
Okay, with the boost I got a little over plus 200.
Nice.
I timed
Yeah.
it perfectly.
When did you bet? Because I did it in the first half. Still,
No, I was toward the end of the third quarter.
Okay, yeah.
It might have even been into the fourth quarter.
I also
think
hit
it was.
Jokic triple double, Jokic over 25.5 points,
incredible.
Jokic over 9.5 assists. It's just like if you see Jokic, just bet it, and you're gonna have a pretty good record.
He's incredible.
There's no BS at DraftKings Sportsbook, but there is some BS. You both at the Nuggets game last night on what appeared to be free tickets. Wow. And your boy's just sitting here.
Sorry.
Wow.
Once we get the DNVR suite,
Yes.
Oh, then
But,
I might be invited.
oh, play your cards right.
Hey, if there was more tickets, you would have been invited. But Henry had already said he wanted to
Yeah,
go.
I had
it's
said
fair,
on the
it's fair. No, I
podcast.
understand. I'm just a little
Uh-huh.
heartbroken.
No, good.
I have to
Yeah.
say,
You should
huge
be.
shout
It was a
out to
great
our
game.
friends at Gondola and Fresh Tape
Yes.
Media. I was sitting in the penalty box.
Yeah.
For the Avs, like I could see the door.
That is
Wow, did you open it?
It's like locked with a screw and everything when
That's
they're not
such
using
garbage.
it.
I mean,
But
someone-
maybe that's even when they're using it. I don't trust those hockey players to not just leave.
So I'm gonna have to hit up our guy Jared over there and get those tickets again because someone after I left sent me the best idea ever, which was you should leave a little note for the next player that's in there.
Oh, my
that
God,
is so
that's
good.
I was like, how did I
That
not
is so
think
good.
of this?
a
That
little
is so
like a
good.
candy too or something, a little mint.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was just gonna, I was thinking like, what if I did like DM me for a prize? You know?
Would their prize be they get to join us on this show?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go, baby.
Congratulations.
Oh, wow.
You have won an appearance on the
Oh,
DNVR
my
Broncos
goodness.
podcast.
That is incredible.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it would be.
You know, I've got one more Jokic thing to say,
Yeah.
even though this is not a Jokic podcast. He turns 28 in a few weeks.
Wow.
Just throwing this out there, notable NBA players who won their first title at 28. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Shaq. You know,
Pretty good.
There's a couple
Yeah.
who he could be joining here.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Or they could be joining his company.
They could be. They
I
could
don't
be.
think anyone had 3 MVPs by 28. I'm guessing.
There are,
Wow.
I think, Wilt, who
Oh,
won his first title
Of
at
course.
31, I believe.
but he already had 3 MVPs.
I believe he did.
I feel like for
Wow.
the most part, in any basketball conversation when it comes to stats, Wilt's just, you put him on the side.
Well, yeah. I agree.
Except that Jokic, for in some of these ways,
I
is
know, I
joining
know.
the conversation.
I know,
with
but
him,
it
which
should
is
just be the
wild.
Jokic conversation. The Wilt,
Yeah.
Well,
Wilt,
yeah.
yeah, first title was 31.
Wow.
Just
Henry's
get
got
throwing
this
it
all
out
mapped
there.
out.
Just throwing it out there. Steph did get title at 27. KD's first was 28.
I think he's making an argument to be on the Nuggets show. He wants to leave RB.
I have a
He
rant if
wants-
they need me.
He wants to see what winning looks like.
Speaking of, I actually am getting a buyout on my Nuggets to win the title.
Oh.
Odds.
What'd you get in?
I got in at plus 1,800,
Okay.
and I hate to do this because we've talked a long time,
know,
but I
this
do
has
want to
been
pay
too
this
long
off.
without
Well,
Broncos.
as you're, why don't you tell us about Foco? There we go.
If you like the Broncos, you like the Nuggets, you like things that have the logos of those two teams on them, then Foco is the place for you. They put logos on all sorts of stuff. If you want like a Santa hat, if you want sandals, if you want the blanket thing. We always talk about the blanket thing with the sleeves. A sign that says Broncos fans parking only. They have all sorts of the memorabilia that are just staples in sports culture.
Yeah.
Like that is what being a sports fan is about, is just having things of the team that you like with the logo on it. Like
true.
that's what it's all about, and nobody does a better job than Foco. They are a Colorado company, and if you use the code DNVR, you can get 10% off all non-presale items. So much cool stuff. Definitely go check it out. Tumblers, tote bags, collectibles, fan gear, just awesome stuff. Stanley Cup toting bobbleheads. It says touting. I guess that works too.
Yeah, they're touting the Stanley Cup.
Toting would be a little bit more literal,
Yeah.
because touting is like I'm bragging about it. But I guess if you're holding it, you kind of are. But yeah, Foco, 10% off. The link in the description for the podcast and on YouTube, all that stuff.
So Nuggets have gone from plus 1,800 to plus 800.
I know. I need to make another bet.
You
And
gonna
that's
cash
fourth.
out?
That's of course not.
Of course not.
I don't make these bets to win a little.
That's very true. You're in it for the 1800, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
You're in it for the 1800, and we're talking about great opportunities. Guys, I think DeMeco Ryans could be a great opportunity. Let's talk about him. Let's dive in. Let's give 3 minutes to break down exactly who DeMeco Ryans is. Let's get that 3 minutes on the clock. Mind if I start?
Please do.
DeMeco Ryans, let me start off with Roll Tide, baby. An All-American player at the University of Alabama. He was a second-round draft pick in the NFL in 2006, had a great career, played for 10 seasons in the NFL, took 1 season off after finishing, and then began his coaching career with the San Francisco 49ers in 2017 as a quality control coach on the defensive side. Then he became his own position coach in 2018. For 3 seasons, he was the San Francisco 49ers linebackers coach, and boy, have the 49ers had some excellent linebackers there he's worked with. And then the past 2 seasons, he's been the 49ers defensive coordinator, and not only is he viewed as a fantastic defensive mind, but respected and someone that everyone thinks is going to be able to come into a building and just command respect from everyone. He's loved by his players. He's loved in the organization. He was one of the hottest head coaching candidates last year, decided to go back with the 49ers, and now he's on the market again. The Broncos are interviewing him on Thursday. This is a big one right here.
It totally is. It totally is. And I think that the best way to put this in perspective is to think about the Broncos offense this season. how bad was the Broncos offense this season? That's basically how bad other teams' offenses have been against the 49ers defense.
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah,
the
good
49ers are the best defense in the NFL in terms of yards per game. They give up 300 yards per game. They're the best defense in the NFL in the regular season in points per game, 16.3 points per game. What did the Broncos finish with? Like 15.6 or something like that?
Yeah.
It's about the same thing.
Yeah.
That is a big part of the reason people are so excited. There's all the intangibles, but you wonder just how hands-on he would be with the Broncos defense.
Right.
You know, the fact that he's carrying the 49ers with their third quarterback to this point is impressive, but would they flip from a 3-4 to a 4-3? Would he be the CEO type who brings in a defensive coordinator who probably wouldn't have worked with him if he runs a 4-3 to run the defense? Who really knows? There's some questions about that stuff, but the numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah, and Benjamin Solak put out a incredible article, thousands and thousands of words. In fact, so many words that I can't find the quote that I'm trying to find in it.
Oh, sounds familiar.
But I will say this: I'll say the quote. I just can't find who it's attributed to anymore.
Was it edited?
It could have been edited out,
boy.
but he tweeted it out with this quote: "DeMeco Ryans, I would literally die for him."
Whoa.
That's one of his former teammates, players, coaches. And then also someone else said, it wouldn't surprise me if DeMeco became president. Like, these are the types of things that people say about this guy.
That would be a surprise.
And I mean, does that fit with what the Broncos are looking for? Like,
Yeah,
obviously a football genius, an expert with that, but more than just a football guy. And that's why he could blow away the Broncos in the Bay Area this week.
I looked through that article like 3 times.
And there's the 3 minutes. And guys, I've kind of mentioned this in the past. He reminds me of potentially the next Mike Vrabel. Like a guy that's going to be so respected. He's going to have the command and attention of everyone in the facility, from people above him to all of the players. He's a defensive guy. But Henry, I don't think he's coming in and calling the plays. Like you said, I think he's really going to be more of that CEO type and just that excellent leader. And holy cow, I think that Mike Vrabel should be in the conversation pretty much every year he's been the coach for head coach of the year, just for what he has done. If you can get something like that, oh my goodness, DeMeco Ryans is a guy. And yes, he's a first-time head coach. And that's something that scares the hell out of people. And I understand why. The Broncos' last 3 coaches have all been first-time head coaches and haven't panned out. But if anyone's going to know how to be a first-time coach, isn't it a guy that's been around Kyle Shanahan for the last many seasons and a guy that's been a player in a building for 10 seasons in the NFL? I don't think there'd be very many learning curves in terms of, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting this to happen in a season. I wasn't expecting this dynamic with a coach and a player. I think he would be very well equipped, probably as well as anyone, for being a first-time head coach.
And I agree. I don't think he would run the defense, but I do think it's interesting to think about what it would look like if he did flip over to a 4-3, because Randy Gregory obviously fits. You know, you play him at defensive end. That's a position that he's played for a lot of his career. That would fit pretty well. The 3 linebackers, assuming you bring back Alex Singleton, that Josie Jewell, Alex Singleton, Jonas Griffith combination, I could kind of get behind that. I kind of like what that looks like. And then you throw in Baron Browning, who, when I first thought about this, thought like, he's not really a great fit. Maybe he's a situational pass rusher. In that 4-3 defense, he might fit pretty well as an outside linebacker, you know, because there's so much time he lines up on the line of scrimmage anyway. They would almost be in that Micah Parsons type of role, which could use him in a way where he gets to kind of blend the experience from the last couple of years and kind of get the best of both worlds. You would kind of have too many numbers there, you know, Jonathan Cooper, Jacob Martin, Nick Bonito. Like, maybe keep Nick Bonito in and try to rotate him in on passing downs. Maybe you move those other 2. Who are your defensive linemen? Do you start to think about bringing back Draymond Jones? Is he an inside guy, outside guy? But the more I think about it, the more I think the pieces might fit pretty well. Although I still agree that probably isn't the way it could go. I think I could get behind it.
Yeah.
It was Bo Allen, former teammate of DeMeco Ryans, who said, I would literally die for him.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
The president thing, I don't know.
Well, if you think about it, if he became president, then he could get Bo Allen to be part of his Secret Service. Then he would have to literally die for him.
Whoa, it's all going to come full circle.
So Bo Allen said that with this in mind, of
Yes.
getting a job as a Secret Service.
Exactly.
Wow, Bo was really ahead. Maybe the Broncos should hire him, because if he's this good at seeing things in the future, he would know what like the next best quarterback is.
I just don't think you can take a single person who, like, unless they are well on their way, like in government, and say like, I I would not be surprised if they're president. Like even like think about the smartest person you know. You think like he
Zach.
should be president.
Oh, stop.
You would still think like, no, like odds are this guy is not going to be president of the United States.
Man, there are some people that you talk to, like in this industry, where there's some extremely smart people.
I think it's funny
where
that you think you have to be smart to be president of the United States.
Well, that's a good point.
There's a road we could go down.
Yeah, maybe he just meant he's very convincing.
Yeah, but still, like, it's 1 in 350 million. Like, you gotta at least be
Who
like,
knew
oh
that
wow.
This is
this
the
would
worst
make Hank the
sidetrack.
most heated?
He's like, that's just. I can't believe that person said something that wasn't entirely true.
I think if he's going a little too far there, I'm not sure if I trust that guy.
But that's not DeMeco, right? He didn't say that about. What if he said that about himself?
He's actually surpassed CEO type. He's president type.
Yeah, it's really true. DeMeco's like,
Oof.
I could see DeMeco being president of the United States one day. Could you imagine if you said that to Rob Walton?
Right.
Wow.
So there we go.
Like, what are the betting odds?
Stop.
Oh my god.
Anyways, DeMeco Ryans would. I think he's gonna blow the Broncos away in the interview,
Yeah.
and it's just gonna like. They're gonna be if that happens, there's gonna be a conversation. It says we can hire DeMeco Ryans for free,
That's
not
really
for free,
true.
but
yeah.
for no compensation.
Plus, also, the money you're going to be paying him is way less than what you're paying someone else. Now, I don't think they care about that, but Ryan, I think what you're going to have to give up for the Saints, it should be talked about. Okay, we can get this guy we get to keep all of our draft picks, or we have to give some up to get this other guy.
I do love this comment. How many Zacs would it take to be president?
That doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even make sense.
Like, what are the odds of one of them just? Like, again, it's 1 in 350 million.
Oh,
if you just load the deck with 100 million Zacs running around America, does one wind
You
up being
think about
president?
it. Zach has like a very presidential resume. Like,
Wow.
like about to
for the
marry his
Browns.
high school sweetheart. Great story for the presidential campaign. Like top of his class at a prestigious university.
Worked with you two.
Yeah, there
Has
you
a
go.
podcast.
Banger podcast.
Oh, man. But I don't know.
Several thousand followers on Twitter.
Ryan says sometimes I take things too far. Would people, dig into that and pull some
No.
clips of me saying
That's
some,
true, yeah.
spicy things?
Imagine breaking out the spicy in a presidential speech.
Yes.
I would pay good money to see the clips of this podcast that the person running against Zach would pull.
With the dark dark music behind it.
I was in a very serious meeting with at UN headquarters with the heads of 15 nations. Not gonna lie, things got spicy.
Oh,
I just want to see like Zac Stevens believes Aaron Rodgers was never really that good.
Oh,
It's like playing in
no.
Green Bay.
Right. Can you trust him? I do have some news, guys. I would like to announce my bid
Oh,
to be on this podcast tomorrow.
okay.
Oh,
Well, you.
okay.
I'm in the running.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
Yeah, in the
Good,
running.
good.
Whew,
in the running.
in the
for
running.
sure.
And by the way, shout out to our guy Cody, who just keeps hitting us with the chance for people to smash us with the thumbs up.
Yep.
So really appreciate that, Cody, and everyone. Hit us with the thumbs up if you're tuning in. We would really appreciate it. It would help my campaign a lot.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
every thumbs up is
Yeah.
a vote for Zac Stevens to be president.
Man, I thought just to be back tomorrow.
Oh,
Wow.
actually, yes.
Yeah.
If we don't hit 100 thumbs up,
Uh-oh.
Zach can't be on the pod tomorrow.
18 away,
Whoa.
please. The track record's in my favor. We've hit it the past few days with flying colors. So, oh no, are we having people thumbs down now?
Oh, great.
Oh, that would be something.
How many likes do we need on a podcast to get you to submit like the paperwork to run for president?
Probably not as many as you think.
Wow.
Okay.
How much paperwork do you think that is?
Oh,
I
if it's
have
paperwork.
no idea. I'd have no idea how to sign
Like,
up. To be
I applied
president.
to Arizona State when I was a senior in high school because you didn't have to write an
Oh
essay.
yeah.
Oh, that
'Cause they
was
just say
such
yes.
a huge thing.
They
Yeah.
just
I was
say
like,
yes.
oh, sweet. Yeah, I'll do that.
You get to that point and then you're like, essay, no thanks. Or you get to that point where it's like, give us 5 200-word answers, and you're like, do I really want to go here?
I realize this decision is about the next 4 years of my life, but the next 4 minutes
Yep,
seem
yep.
pretty good right now.
Madden games waiting over there. Yeah, no thank you.
I assume that you have to at least write an essay.
Oh man, do people really want to read essays?
Probably
No.
not. Who
American
even
people?
reads this stuff?
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
That is kind of the thing. It's like, who are you submitting this to?
I bet we have someone who works with
I don't know.
campaigns who can let us
Probably.
know in the comments.
I do think the 2028 election, you would be eligible.
2020. Oh, you're right. I couldn't even do 2024.
No.
Yeah.
If
Why?
a
Don't
show,
have to worry about that.
gotta be 35.
Wouldn't be 35.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn,
Okay,
that
so-
sucks that you're going to be 35 by the next election.
Well, there's one
I
in between.
won't be.
The next one after that.
Right. Yeah. At least I have that one in between.
It does
Yeah.
suck a couple elections
Yeah,
from now.
yeah,
It'll be 35.
So I won't worry about this for another 4 years. Then we can talk about
All
it.
right,
Okay, cool.
sounds
Yeah,
good.
Well, we'll circle back.
Yeah.
Some questions?
Yeah, speaking of the people, shall we talk to them? Jump into the questions, and we got some coming in on the website, as we always do, and some people have been hitting me up wondering how they get their questions read on this. You can leave us a super chat in the live, or you can go to thednvr.com, and at the top of the screen, there's a tab. You click that, click on the podcast, click on Broncos podcast. It pulls up all of our podcasts. At the top of the page, you click on the one that's right there because that's the most recent one. You scroll to the bottom, and you can leave your questions, and we're doing that right now.
But you got to be a diehard.
You got to be a diehard, exactly. The first diehard coming in from Arvada Luke says, "Hi, friends. If the ownership wants to make a splash, how big can the splash be hiring a head coach alone? How much of the splash do you think filling out the assistants can make? Do you have anyone who would be a huge hire on the offensive assistant side?"
Yes. So, I mean, Greg Roman stepped away from the Ravens today. He would be
Yeah.
incredible. He doesn't have any Sean Payton ties, but both have the West Coast background, so you'd think it'd be pretty simple.
Yep.
I mean, Greg Roman is an awesome coach. He was at Stanford, obviously. We've talked about, I think
Yeah.
we've touched on it at some point, but could also be a candidate with David Shaw. I think he was the tight ends coach when David Shaw was offensive coordinator there, then left with Harbaugh. The Harbaugh tie would have been the one that you really jump into. But again, it's the West Coast background. Greg Roman has the experience with Colin Kaepernick and Lamar Jackson. What happens when you give him Russell Wilson? I think good things.
They reported that Lamar Jackson will be involved in the search for the next offensive coordinator. I think it was Schefter who said that. He doesn't even have a contract, though.
Yeah, I think
No,
that...
they're begging him to sign a contract.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what it is. I think it's,
Like,
no,
please.
Lamar, don't. We
Please.
actually think you may leave now. Don't. We'll give you this
We'll
power.
fire Greg Roman. Does he think that was part of it?
Yes.
I would think so. I think if Lamar
Yes.
wanted Greg back, Greg would be back.
Or we'll open the door for him to leave.
Yep. By the way, some breaking news again. I'll be back tomorrow.
Let's
you
go.
guys may hate it,
Wow.
but I'm happy about it. So thank you all so much.
If
We
you're
are
looking
happy.
for another name, though, I know Joe Lombardi isn't a hot name at the moment, but he did spend 12 years as an offensive assistant and quarterbacks coach under Sean Payton. So that would be a name to watch.
The thing is, if you hire Sean Payton, that's the splash, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Then on the
Yes.
defensive side of the ball, what are you looking at? Vic Fangio is a name that was
Yeah.
mentioned. That would be a splash,
Oh,
straight
yeah,
up.
it would be.
Adam Zimmer's probably due for a defensive coordinator job. He was assistant linebackers coach for 3 years under Payton. Also,
I honestly thought Mike Zimmer might just be involved.
there might be a chance.
There's a reason Mike has. He's not official at CU yet,
Nope.
right? There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Also, this is the way off the board one. 2008 defensive line coach for the New Orleans Saints, Ed Ogeron.
Oh my
let's
goodness,
go.
that would be
It would be fun.
incredible.
It would be
that would be
fun.
so much. I got one too that could be very realistic. Mike Munchak. Make him your offensive
Ooh,
line
yeah.
coach. Pay him
Please.
a ton of money. Broncos can do
What
it.
did he do this last year?
He just hung out in Denver.
Chill.
He's still here.
He should come on the show.
Yeah, let's have him on.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I'll see
Mike
if we can
Mallory,
make it
also
happen.
special teams coordinator for the Broncos, but then was promoted when Dwayne Stukes got fired. He was assistant special teams coach for the Saints for 5 years.
Makes a
There you
lot
go.
of sense.
There's another one. That's
Nash-
just connections.
Nash Bronco says, "Hi, boys. I'm sure the topic today has something to do with George Paton not really being involved in the second round of coaching interviews. This is puzzling to me. If this means he's on his way out, who the hell are the Broncos going to get that's better than him? The timing of all this is wrong to me unless they know Sean Payton is taking the job and wants to hire his own GM.
It certainly is trending in that direction. And as we heard from Jeff, there's plenty of people that Sean would be interested in bringing in.
In a vacuum, it's weird to not have him in there, but it's pretty obvious why. It's because they want to ask the coach about George Paton and what they think of him. You're not gonna do it with him in the room. And so I'm not too surprised that it's happening. Like, it just makes too much sense, because the other way to do it is, hey, George, can you leave the room for a couple minutes? And that's kind of what it is. It's like, George, wait outside. You're going to be involved with, like, talking to him. We're going to walk around facilities. He might even go out to dinner with him. But in terms of the actual interview, there's questions that need to be asked about George Payton.
It's gotta suck just like knowing that people are gonna be talking about you behind your back.
Yeah.
Like, you assume that people are talking about you behind your back, but knowing.
Wait, what are you saying?
Oh, yeah.
I just feel like everyone has someone talking about them behind their back at some point.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That's why I'm
but
not
knowing
an NFL
specifically
GM.
within like a 4 hour
Right, you're like,
window.
oh, cool, they're talking about me right now.
Okay,
Great.
so what would be worse, though? Not being in the interview and know at some point they're talking about you, or be in the interview for the first 3 hours, and then they're like, George, we're going to ask you to step out now.
Could you
and
go
then,
get us some coffee?
And then knowing that they're talking about you at that moment.
I know, I love that. Like, they have the 3 second-round interviews or whatever it's going to be, and, like, at the same point in all of them, it's like, oh, ran out of coffee. Hey, George, you mind going to get another pot of coffee?
George
Not
is like, no,
again.
I just poured this cup. You can have it. And they're like, no,
want it
I
hot.
didn't want that cup.
George gets out there and it's like, oh, the coffee pot is somehow empty again, and I've got to go to the one in the other building and take another 10 minutes.
The count says we've never seen a player like Joker. Who is the current
yes.
Broncos version of Jokic?
There's
Are there
not
any
one.
Broncos that could be used that could be as singularly dominant? What stat line would they need to have every game to be as unique? Love the count. There's one player, I feel confident in saying this, in sports history that's like Jokic, and it's Peyton Manning.
Oh, in sports history.
Yep.
What about Wayne Gretzky?
I don't
terms
know
of just
enough about
true-
like how much of his was pure talent versus like thinking the game.
Oh,
what I mean about that
gotcha.
is
Yeah.
Jokic dominates every night by understanding basketball more than you do.
Yeah.
And I mean you as in everyone.
Yeah,
And
and
Peyton
me.
Manning was
Yeah.
the same way. Like, he would outthink you around every corner. No matter what you did,
Yep.
he had a counter to that. And so Jokic just sits there and just picks teams apart. No matter what you do, he knows how to beat it. I think Peyton and Jokic are the only two that really were that dominant on the mental side.
And I don't want to put this pressure on him, but when we're talking about knowing the game from a mental side and also being a damn good player, just comparing it to this team, who's on this team, it'd be Pat Surtain. I mean, just understanding the game at that level, but then also being that incredibly good. And the stat line that Pat Surtain put up the final 4 games of the season is right along those lines, where we're talking about he was targeted something like 4 times in the final 4 games, gave up like 1 catch. It was incredibly dominant. Now, you're just not going to have that impact that it's that noticeable.
You can't do it in football.
A really good comment, Messi.
Yes. Oh.
Oh.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I think it's one of those
Jokic
things
is
though where
better.
it's like he's not
It's soccer.
the most physically able. Like, he's not just beating you.
Right.
And this is
LeBron
not to
James
take away.
style.
It's not to take, because LeBron might be like second best in the NBA at knowing the game.
Yeah.
But he also is like the most gifted athlete of all time.
Yeah.
And so Messi's obviously undersized, and I think that he sees it more than the average person. But there's very few people like Jokic ever.
Yep. Also, I did totally forget that Adam Zimmer died in October. Only 38. I had forgotten.
Damn.
It's terrible.
It is terrible. But that's some good points in the comments.
Damn. That's really sad. Next one from C. Fillmore 72. Dear Mighty 3. The home teams for the London games were announced today. Bills, Titans, and of course the Jags. Fingers crossed, but highly unlikely that we see the Broncos back over here immediately against the Bills. So my question is, are there any other matchups that would be tasty enough for you to make the trip and get back on those London vibes? Christopher. He says, to save you looking it up outside of divisional games, the possible opponents are Bills. For the Bills, they could play the Broncos, Raiders, Cowboys, Giants, Jags, or Bucks. Titans, Ravens, Bengals, Falcons, Panthers, Chargers, Seahawks, and Jags, Ravens, Bengals, Falcons, Panthers, Chiefs, 49ers.
Oh, I see what he's saying. No, unfortunately, since the Broncos will likely be playing here, but what would be the most intriguing matchup if we didn't have to cover the Broncos here that you would want to see? Bills, Cowboys?
That doesn't move me. Bills, Jags. Oh, but the Jags are already going to be there, so they're not going to play them.
Jags, Chiefs? I mean, well, I guess we'll get to find out on Saturday how good of a game it'll
Yeah.
be.
Last time it was an okay game.
Yeah.
In the regular season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wish the Broncos would get the. If we can do Bills Broncos in London again, sign me up
Wow.
immediately.
Yeah. Not to burst anyone's bubble. Probably not, though.
Probably
just
not,
won't.
although the Broncos did draw the largest crowd in international game
Very
history.
True. It's very true. No reason that wouldn't happen again.
True.
Right, and it's not the Jags that drew the crowd because they play there every year.
That is for sure. Very true.
All right, I think we have one
more for Bronco. Tiz says, I've seen a few comments on how Russ wanted to work with Sean Payton. Question, did Russ tank for Payton? The final straw game was probably his worst, LOL.
No.
Wow. No.
Also, if he did, boy, did he hate that that they're not making this coaching hire, and they made it clear based off of Russ.
Well, and Russ chose Nathaniel Hackett.
Right.
Like, Nathaniel Hackett was already hired before Russ waived his no-trade clause to come to Denver.
Yeah, it's so true.
All right, let's get the super chats here. From Orange says, from 1 to 10, what's the confidence Payton is coming, Zach?
I would say an 7.5.
Ooh, okay.
I was almost going to go 8, and the reason, my only reason for hesitancy is just the trade itself. It really does seem like Payton wants the Broncos, and the Broncos want Payton.
That's what I love about the Broncos.
Yep.
I just feel like they have like a little extra cachet. They kind of
do.
usually get what they want.
It's true.
I mean, I've been trying to figure out how exactly to do it, but I'm getting ready to just pound the plus 225 that Sean Payton is coming to Denver. Like, typically what I would do is like make a big round robin parlay with a bunch of things in the games this weekend and then throw whatever I make onto that. But I think it might happen before then. So, but that's not the point. The point is at 2 to 1 odds, that seems like a great deal to me. I think it's 50-50 at this point.
I have had really bad luck with these types of bets, so I don't want to jinx it. Because like last year, I think I put money on Dan Quinn. Didn't work. I did like Aaron Rodgers to Denver. That didn't work. Like a couple other of those that just haven't hit, so I don't want to jinx it by betting on.
So you're saving Broncos country.
Yep.
By not making money.
Well, you guys can bask in the money.
I really quick. I don't think it'll happen before these games.
Oh, okay.
I think
so. We get another week of Sean Payton on TV, like dropping breadcrumbs.
Or Sean Payton is in Denver on Monday morning and it happens Monday night.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I think we get a weekend. Maybe that's just me being hopeful. I'm not sure.
Seth Stewart says, save Numbies. Love you guys.
Love
You've
you,
been
Seth.
saved.
Love you, Seth.
You've been saved.
Yes.
And final one here, which is a great question. From Roger, who says, between RK, Zach, and Henry, who would be the best to have beers with at the DNVR bar? Actually, I thought this was a different question, which was the one that asked, who would be your vice president if you ran for president?
Yeah. Thank goodness I don't have to answer that one. Oh, why not all three?
I'm in.
There we go.
Now, the question, are we splitting a beer between the four of us?
No.
Oh, okay. No.
That'd get me going.
That's why I asked. It would definitely get me going.
we could share.
What?
It doesn't take much.
By the way, we do need to have our pizza night.
Yes,
we do have a pizza night. It's gonna be funny though.
Does anyone owe me pizzas?
You have some bad
this
takes
could
this
be
year.
tough for you. You
have
got to think about that.
I feel like the only I was just off about the Jags, and that cost me like 3 pizzas.
Yeah,
Really did.
that was a rough one for you. Yeah, and I
don't remember
my
any other
whipping
pizza bets. This is a problem.
And then here's the issue: is you were cheering for the Jags to make the playoffs in that final game, so you were cheering to lose 3 pizzas.
yeah, I wanted the pizzas with the boys.
Wow.
Okay,
What kind of
I
pizzas?
appreciate that.
It's gonna. I mean,
From where?
It just has to
sexy pizza.
A sexy
That's a
pizza.
good place
Yeah,
to go.
it is
Yep,
sexy pizza.
Yep.
But it's up to you guys. You
Henry
guys-
and I have to crush 3 pizzas.
Just like that beer. Like I'd be fine with just a little part of one.
Slice.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's what's gonna happen: is I'm gonna order you guys all these pizzas. You each are gonna eat one slice. I'm gonna have leftovers for weeks.
So you're saying it's a good deal for you?
Yeah, great
Yeah,
deal.
there we go.
I've never actually had beer through a straw.
I had beer through a
Oh
hot
my
dog
gosh,
straw.
I could not.
Oh, that's
oh
right.
my gosh. What
so
was it called?
bad.
The glizzy?
I am-
glizzy straw.
Glizzy straw.
This is news. I've actually moved from seltzers back to beer. Like I'm just full-time beer now.
Wow.
I
I think I have
That
had
is
enough
big.
of the seltzers.
I've noticed your
Wow.
beard looking a little more full.
That's probably it. Also, I haven't been to the barber in like a month.
Oh, that
That
could be.
would
Also-
also be it.
My barber, Now Primetime's barber.
Oh.
And Shadur's barber as well.
It's Coach Prime.
Wow. Yeah,
Us.
come on.
Please get it right.
I'm going to get banned.
All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for us today. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate Jeff Duncan for joining
Yes,
us.
absolutely.
Yes.
More guests on the show
Yeah.
in the coming weeks.
Yes.
Excited for that. And maybe we'll even drop some news that will be very pertinent to us having guests on the show tomorrow.
Ooh,
How's that sound?
hey.
All right, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Appreciate you.